Howdy. This video is about how we as fathers might use behavioral activation in order to promote our emotional well-being. And if you're not familiar with behavioral activation, that's okay. We're going to talk a little bit about what that entails herein. It's not uncommon for fathers to focus on everyone else's needs before their own. They prioritize their partner, their children, maybe their extended family, friends, the people in their community. And there can be a lot of respect and honor in that at times, but there can also be a neglect about our own well-being that can lead to some pretty significant harm. And when we're feeling low or anxious or stuck, one of the best tools that we have for getting unstuck is behavioral activation. So this is really about shifting from a sense of powerlessness, where we view our emotions or our thoughts or even our energy as being beyond our control. And we shift from that to a sense of powerfulness, where we take control and we take small, actionable steps towards enhancing our mood and promoting our energy. So what we're saying with behavioral activation is that we don't have to wait to feel better in order to do things. Instead, doing things will actually make us feel better. And so often we get stuck in this kind of no-win loop that we're not feeling well, and so we think, gosh, I'm not going to go do this fun thing. I'm going to wait until I feel better to go do this thing. But really, going and doing it is going to make us feel better. And so by not doing it, by stopping ourselves, we're actually getting ourselves stuck, more stuck in this low mood. And this starts to point to a core principle within behavioral activation, which is if I want to change how I feel on the inside, I can start by changing what I'm doing on the outside, because our behaviors shape our emotional landscape. And so we can't just ignore, push through, suppress, or deny these feelings that we're having. Instead, behavioral activation is saying, hey, let's notice this and let's shift into an action mode. In doing things, we can start to improve our well-being, and we start to improve how we show up for our family. And the great thing about behavioral activation is that it's a pretty concrete and simple method to follow. In step one, we essentially become a scientist. We start to examine our life and start to pull together the data that we need in order to make informed decisions. So we just start by noticing what we're actually doing during the day. Now, not what we wish we were doing, not what we would prefer to be doing, but what we're actually doing. We track these activities and we just notice, how are we feeling when we're doing these things? Now, if we were doing 100% full-fledged behavioral activation, we would get a 4. And we would identify the different times during the day, the different activities that we were doing during the day, and we would track our mood on a 1 to 10 scale, identifying high and low mood periods. That's probably more work than we need to do for this activity. I encourage people to maybe reflect on the past couple of days. What did they do? How was their mood during those times? And to reflect on, well, the day to day. What are we doing now? How are we feeling during this? And we'll notice that patterns start to emerge. And we're going to start to notice some patterns. There are going to be times where we're saying, gosh, I stayed up late watching television. I felt like crap the next morning. Or I scrolled on my phone for 20 minutes and I felt stuck in the couch. And sometimes it can be easier to notice those times that our mood dips, but we also want to notice when we're feeling good about things. What's going on? What are we doing? And to gather that data. So is it that, when I sit and I play for 10 minutes in an intentional way, am I feeling better? Or if I'm intentionally accomplishing something on my to-do list, something that's small and discrete and not too time consuming, if I can check that off, I'm feeling good about stuff. All of this is data that we're collecting to see what's working and what's not working for us. And now that we have a sense of what's working and what's not working, we need to start to generate some ideas about other behaviors we can experiment with. This is not about fixing us because we're broken. Instead, it's about us exploring ways that we can reconnect with ourselves, feel good about things, and carry that momentum and that energy into our family. This requires us to be creative. We need to think through different options and opportunities. And so we reflect on what brings enjoyment, what's fun for us, what makes us smile, what are things that maybe we did at one time that we want to revisit, what's something that we've always wanted to do but we want to experiment with now. What's meaningful? And we think about what we create in the world, what we receive from the world, how we deal with the unavoidable. Right? What's meaningful and how can I connect what I'm doing to that? So too, what's connection with others? Who do I want to connect with? In what ways can I connect with them? How can I cultivate or strengthen a relationship with them? Are there touchstones that we can have or touch points throughout the week or the month or the year that's going to help us feel more in alignment and attunement with one another? And some of this might require a father-specific lens because, in some ways, fatherhood expands our options of what brings enjoyment and meaning and connection, and in some ways, it's constricted. So I do have more opportunities for creative play with my daughter, which is exciting. And on the other side, I have fewer opportunities to go out to a bar to see a local band. And so exploring realistically, what does this look like for us today? Not for the us's that existed prior to fatherhood. So playing catch, cooking a meal, wrestling around with our kids on the floor, walks with a stroller, music, dancing, singing, whatever it may be. And it doesn't need to involve our children. If there's something that we need to do for ourselves that's going to bring enjoyment, that's okay too. Because this isn't about doing just one thing that's always going to work and always going to make us happy, but it's about doing multiple things, noticing what those things bring into our lives, both in terms of costs and benefits, and repeating the stuff that's actually working. And that ultimately gets us to this third step, which is to try out some of these behaviors that we've generated through brainstorming. So we select a couple of things that we brainstormed and we try them out. We implement them into our lives. Today, sometime this week, we make plans for it and we do it. And we observe, we collect data about what worked and what didn't, and then we repeat what did work. And so we ask questions. Did it help? Did this activity help us? Did it improve our mood? How much did it improve our mood? Or did it hurt us in some way? Would we do it again? And part of that is saying, is this behavior actually accessible to us on a regular basis? And this is not guessing. We're actually taking the guesswork out of all of this. Instead, we're gathering actual data. We are implementing an intervention. We are making observations, which is the data, and then we're making decisions based upon that data in order to ensure that we're actually going to get the results that we want. There's a really helpful acronym to keep all of these steps in mind. And so the action framework breaks each one down so that we can think through what's the next step to see what's working for me and what can I do to help boost my mood. So A is for the assess. What am I actually doing and how do I feel when I'm doing it? It's getting that baseline evaluation of where we are today, what's working and what's not. C is for choose. What are other things that we could try out, especially ones that seem rewarding, that bring in energy, connection, or a sense of relaxation or groundedness? T, we try stuff out, we experiment. And it's important that we keep this simple. We keep it small, realistic, contained. So rather than saying, I'm going to start exercising, and I'm going to go out for an hour every day, say, instead, let's do 5 minutes of exercise and let's do it today and see how we feel afterwards. I is for integration. We integrate those behaviors that are working for us so that it becomes a bit of a rhythm. And because we're already thinking about our schedules, what we're doing during the day, we probably have a good idea of where this might fit. So put it in there. O is for observe. We want to keep collecting data. Is this new behavior continuing to provide the rewards that we want? Because what we know from leisure counseling is that behaviors start to lose their reinforcement over time, that we need to update them and alter them in order to ensure that they're sufficiently challenging and engaging to promote our well-being. And N is for never give up. This is not about being perfect. This is about a practice, and it's about ongoing evolution. And so we continue to update our behavioral activation strategies and plans in order to promote our well-being. And I think that can be a helpful perspective to have, is that behavioral activation, as I've described it here, sounds like it's something we do once and we assess things and we come up with the data and we change our behaviors and we're just feeling good about stuff. But more than something we do just once, it's a lens that we carry with us, that we no longer just do things and say, well, however we feel is however we feel. Instead, we're doing things and we're assessing, is this making me feel, or is this giving me the results that I'm actually looking for? If so, then let's keep doing it. If not, we need to change something. It helps restore a sense of agency and control in our lives. A couple of considerations while we're wrapping up. The first is about routine, that we acknowledge that kids kind of wreck routine, and that's okay. Fatherhood doesn't mean giving up our structure, but instead it might mean recentering or refocusing on new values. These regular occurring structures or routines give us anchor points that we can start to pair new behaviors with. So we might do a little exercise after drop off, or we might have a morning cup of coffee and take a couple of deep breaths, These types of activities start to become more consistent as we start to pair them with these pre-existing or regular occurring anchor points. Our kids thrive with schedule and routine, in part because it promotes this sense of consistency and groundedness. So, developing that rhythm helps us and it helps them. Another consideration is around avoidance, is that while we're assessing our behaviors and our response, we want to be able to differentiate between our mood, so are we feeling good or are we feeling bad, versus numbing, because numbing pulls us out of that situation. So scrolling or drinking or masturbation or overcommitting ourselves at work or television, all of this can numb us out if we're not aware of that. It can disconnect us from others, it can disconnect us from our feelings. Now, these behaviors aren't necessarily bad. It's okay to masturbate, it's okay to drink alcohol, it's okay to watch television. But we need to be curious, are we doing this to feel better or are we doing this to avoid feeling at all? Because behavioral activation isn't about numbing out, it's about nourishing ourselves, it's about enhancing our well being. Because ultimately, it's about showing up. It's about identifying where we have agency, that agency to regulate our emotions through our actions. It's not about fixing something that's broken, it's about enhancing. It's about taking our power back, our agency, moment to moment, choice by choice. It's about refusing to be stuck in that no win cycle of, I'm going to wait until I feel better in order to take action. Instead, it's saying, I can take action in order to help myself feel better. Perfection's kind of off the table, and we're probably going to be tired the whole time we do this. But if we take our agency back, if we take these steps, if we act, even if we don't feel like it, that mood enhancement, that energy enhancement is going to come up from behind. So we need to remember that we can take action even when things feel difficult and hard. And that action can make a huge difference in our well-being and how we show up with our loved ones. Because what we do that enhances our mood is going to be our choice. But our well-being is not optional. Right? It's foundational. It's foundational to fathering, to showing up in our relationships for our loved ones in the ways that we want to. And so behavioral activation is one step, is one of many different opportunities for us to take care of ourselves, and by doing so, taking care of our loved ones. Thanks.